Welcome back to Real Conversations with Nora for our 13th episode. And our topic of discussion this week is learn how to be wise when it comes to your money and your credit score. Joining me today is Marionne, Antionette. Thank you, Marionne, for joining us today.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much. Share with us your thoughts on how we can learn to be wise when it comes to our money and our credit score, because that seems to be a big issue with people. I know when Neil would always try to get me to write things down, and I was like, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. There's something about seeing it. And once I saw it and wrote it down, it was like, oh, okay. So share with the audience your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So, first of all, let me say thank you so much for this platform. When you think about credit and finances, this is really an area where we're not taught. And so a lot of people are just oblivious to the fact of how important credit is. So it's not that, people are ignorant or bad people if they have come in contact with a certain situation, but most of us are just not taught about credit and finances. And so we don't understand the importance of it until we go and try to make a purchase such as a home, or when we try to go and rent an apartment or buy a car, and then they're like, your credit score, and some individuals, Nora, are like, credit score, like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? So some people are just not made privy to how important your credit is. Credit is everything. It's really everything. And so even when you said just writing it down, once you're able to see something, if individuals would learn to monitor their score at least on a monthly basis and just look at it, a lot can happen. So even if you see a repossession on there, or a bankruptcy, or a medical bill or something like that, it's okay. It's okay. At least you see it and you know how to go after it and attack it.
So explain to the audience how you help people with their credit score, how important their credit score is. When you're talking and teaching and speaking to people, explain to the audience how important the credit score is.
Absolutely. So again, the credit score, you all, is everything. Your credit is those three-digit numbers tell a huge story about you. And so when you're trying to go again make those major purchases, even trying to get a certain job, because if for those that don't realize, there are certain jobs that will actually pull your credit reports before they even hire you. The reality is that that three-digit number begins to tell a story about you, and it might not be the right story. You could be an individual that was paying your bills on time, had an 800, 815, got deployed over to Afghanistan. There was no way that you were going to be able to take care of your credit while you were here. So life happened, right? And by the time you came back, now your 815 is now 518. But nobody's going to ask you, hi, Miss Nora, why is your credit score 518? They don't care about that. So it's very important for us to stay on top of our credit and be cognizant, because it can hold you back from certain things in life. I mean, you honestly, 815 is worth a whole lot much more than millions of dollars in the bank anyway, any day, because your credit will get you places that cash sim can't. So credit is definitely important, very important.
Okay, so let's talk about this one, because we kind of touched on it a little bit. Why most people are afraid to look at their credit score. They really are literally afraid to look at their credit score, and so they just don't do it. And then, of course, the results of that are usually not good. So talk about why most people are afraid.
Yeah, so again, people are afraid of the unknown. And so they kind of know what they've been through, but they're afraid to actually look at it on a sheet of paper and say, oh my gosh, I really do have a repossession. Oh my gosh, I was evicted at one point. Oh my gosh, I was foreclosed. My house was It's okay. It's okay. It's this thing that's called life. It's this thing that calls life, and we never know when life is going to hit us. I 3 years ago, I've never had any negative marks on my credit report. Never. Last year, Nora, in Vegas, I had a near-death experience. They had to perform an emergency surgery. My medical bills accrued well over $500,000. Guess what? Put them on my credit report. put them on my credit report, because I do understand that there's a law that's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act that's going to help me to be able to legally dispute and get those items off. So again, if you're not looking at your credit report, you have no idea what's on there. And if you have no idea what's on there, guess what? You actually might have somebody else bad credit on your credit report. So if you're going to have bad credit, at least check your credit out and make sure it's yours and not somebody else's. So that's a huge thing right there. Just making sure that you're looking at it at least on a monthly basis. And if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you're able to look at it every single week, especially during this pandemic, because they're allowing you to do that for free. So it's vitally important to make sure you're looking at it to monitor what's on there so you'll know how to proceed going forward.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that most people don't look at their credit score is because they don't think it'll help, because it's so bad, and they don't think they don't know where to start actually. So tell us a little bit about what you actually do to help people with that, because it's like, oh, my credit score is like at 515. Well, I can't get anything at 515. So what the heck? I'm just going to keep on paying cash and keep on doing other things and not working on repairing. So as you as an individual, as a consultant that helps people with their credit score, just talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So there's a law that's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1971, which is a federal law. And so this is the law that I actually leverage, my company leverages to help individuals to get those negative items off. So again, we're talking about items that life has hit you with: student loans, bankruptcies, medical bills, inquiries, child support, tax liens, all of those things, evictions, foreclosures that life has hit you with. There is a law that's in place for you, me, and everybody that's listening to this this information today. You don't have to live with bad credit. Most people think, Nora, that they have to wait 7 to 10 years for something to magically fall off. Nothing's going to magically fall off. First of all, it's just nothing's going to magically fall off. Then the fact that federal law is in place, it simply states that nothing has to be on your credit report. There is no law that says that any creditor or any credit bureau had the right to put any negative item on your credit report. So if you have something on there, we use the Fair Credit Reporting Act to legally get those items either deleted off of your credit files or updated. I had a lady that she had one item, an eviction, and I promise you, in her first month, we were able to get her eviction off. Now, evictions are extremely hard to get off, but she came to me in July. It's August now. Her eviction is off of her credit files. We had a lady that got a bankruptcy off in 3 weeks, had another lady got a bankruptcy off in 5 months. And you're thinking, and most people are thinking, oh, it has to stay on there for 7 years. It has to stay on there for 10 years. There is no law that anything has to be on your credit report at all. At all.
Wow, that is so awesome. So does having credit cards help or hurt if you're trying to or attempting to build your credit score? Now, I'm just going to say personally, I'm going to give a shout out to Capital One for a minute. I know when my credit score was really low, like probably like in the 500s, and Capital One gave me a credit card and I paid it on time. And I, would break it up. And I mean, it was like $250, but I would charge something for $50 and then I make a $25 payment and then I make another 25. And I kept that up for about 6 months. And one day I went to my computer and they had increased it to like 500. And so talk about how credit cards, because I know there's different types of credit cards, like they say financial services or institutes are not necessarily good. Is that true? And or like, going to a store and getting a store credit card, it's better to have like a Capital One or Discover. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So credit cards are definitely advantageous to an individual if used appropriately. Okay, so credit cards are not designed for us to live off on. So what it sounded like you had with Capital One was called maybe a secure card. And for those that are not familiar with a secure card is for individuals who are trying to build or rebuild their credit. So if somebody doesn't have any credit. Actually, no credit is worse than bad credit. And so if somebody does not have any credit, well, nobody's going to take a chance on you. So you want to put a secure card in place. If you have bad credit, even if you've maxed out your credit cards, you always want to keep your credit card usage up under 30% of the credit utilization rate. So because you were using your card, right, Nora, that's why they increased your score, increased your limit, because they said, oh, we can trust, we're beginning to trust her, so we can increase that right there. So if you use a credit card, which I am, and I am an advocate for using credit cards, because again, it's reported to the credit bureaus, but it's how you use it. So let's just say if you have a credit card that has a limit of $1,000. First of all, again, credit cards are not meant for us to live off on. Okay, they're meant to be used for, just the purchases that you would typically make, your groceries, your gas, or whatever it is. And so whatever your limit is, 1,000, 30% of that is 300. Making sure you don't go over 300, and making sure that you're paying that bill on time. Now, you said something very important, which I educate my clients on. When you're making a payment, splitting those payments up actually tricks the system into thinking that you made two full payments. So if you get a bill that's $100, go ahead and pay $50 on the front end. And then about 7 days before the actual due date, pay the second half. And what you did was you made your payment, but you split it up, and the system now thinks that you made two full payments. So credit cards can definitely work in your favor if used appropriately.
Okay, good. That's really good. And like you said, if you use it appropriately, because it sounds like that they want it, they'll say, "Oh, I can trust her," like you said, and so they'll give you a little bit more money, and then the next thing you know, you got $5,000 on there. But that's
Right.
$5,000 is not for you to abuse it; it's to
Correct.
use it, to use it appropriately. And when so, you know what, talk a little bit about these zero interest rates. Some credit cards will give you a zero interest rate for like 15 months. Talk a little bit about that. If you had a high interest credit card, and how to take advantage of a zero interest credit card. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. That's a very valid point. And so if you have a card that offers you a 0% interest, as Nora just stated, and it's for like 15, 16 months or whatever, and you have another card where you have a higher balance, do a balance transfer. That's okay. But what you want to do at that point is now you want to budget and see, okay, how can I pay this debt off within the 15 months? Because what happens is they're giving you the opportunity to transfer at 0% for 15 months or however many months they give you. Go ahead and allocate. Don't wait until the 14th month and try to pay this big old bill at one time. Use that, divide it up, and pay it over the month. So now you have saved all of that interest that you were paying on the other card. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to close that other card out. If it's a major credit card like American Express, Discover, MasterCard, Visa, those are cards that you want to have some long history with. Now, you made mention of department store cards. Unnecessary. It's unnecessary to get a Victoria's Secret card. It's unnecessary to get a Macy's card. It's unnecessary to get a Bloomingdale's card. Most people get those cards around the Christmas time when they're being offered 10% off or 15% off. That's just the taxes. That's really just the taxes, So you don't want to open those cards. You really want to have about one or two, no more than three major credit cards, and establish some long history. So it's very okay to do that balance transfer, but making sure that you're not just transferring cards just to transfer, but you're transferring it for the sake of not paying that interest and actually paying that debt off.
Now, I heard something, and I know that your company, and I'm going to have you talk a little bit about your company, but I know that your company is connected with Smart Credit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Smart Credit does, or says, that when you pay off a bill, like say you paid a bill off and now you have an extra $100. Don't think you have an extra $100. Take that extra $100 and apply it. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So that's a term that we really call the snowball factor, snowball effect. There's so many terminologies, but basically what you're doing is once you pay off a debt, like you just said, don't say, okay, oh, I paid this debt off. Now I have some extra money. You're absolutely right. You do have extra money, but now let's allocate that extra money and let's put it on the next debt. So what you want to do is what I advise my clients to do is go ahead and pay off your smallest debt. Pay off your smallest debt so that there can be a sense of accomplishment. So if you have a debt that's $85, go ahead and pay that debt off. And then what you want to do is add that $85 onto your next debt. So let's just say your next debt is $200. So now you've added 85 to that 200. So now once you paid that 200 off, now you have 285. Now you really should feel accomplished because not only have you paid off one debt, now you've paid off the second debt, and now that 285 is now we can put that towards the $3,000 bill. And so you're continuing to add. So start with your small debt, use that money that you're now saving to apply it to another debt so we can eventually be debt free.
That's so good. Now talk about this. I did this. I heard this from a gentleman. He's a white gentleman, and sometimes I just want to say different cultures think differently. And so one of the things that he said was he had opened a credit card for his son. And I was like, And then what he did was he let him, pay it, and then he got him another one, and then he, and showed him. And what he was doing with his son was helping him to develop a track history for his credit. So I actually did that with my grandson, and now his credit score is 765. And so talk a little bit about how what your thought is about that.
Oh, I am so what I just did it. I did it for my kids. I'm doing it for my kids. So my daughter, Nevaeh just turned 18, and I kind of was behind the ball because I was like, okay, you know what? Now she's coming up to 18, but I really should have done it when she was like maybe 15 or whatever. But I did it just a month before her 18th birthday. I put her on one of my credit cards as an authorized user, and so I couldn't look at her credit score until she was 18 because you can't see it until they're 18 or whatever. When we pulled it on when she was 18, she was a 765. And so now what I've done is a 76, 765. Now Nora, she's almost up to an 820. Why? Because I've opened up her a secure card. Okay, the same card that I just talked about. She's on my credit card. So she's piggybacking. She's gaining all of my history from my card. So now in the credit bureau's eyes, she's had this card for 5 years. She has a $12,000 500 credit limit with a low balance, so she's captured all that. So she started off at 18 with a 765. Now she has a secure card as well. Now she also there's something that's called self lender, which is another trade line. So it's definitely something. And I've added my boys to my young men to my credit card. So I can only imagine what their credit score is going to be when they turn 18, because they're going to have at least 3 additional years of being on my car. So that's something that if you have great credit and if you have a card that has a high credit balance, high credit limit, low credit balance, and you've not had any late payments, add your children. Go ahead and set them up for success. Now, if your cars have late payments on them, and or if there's something, kind of hindered this, let's not do it, because we don't want to set them up, But if you do have that card where you have a high credit limit, low credit balance, there's no late payments attached, add your kids on there, because that does begin to build their credit history. So when they turn 18, they already have a 765. They already have an 800 or 815 or whatever, and just continue to show them the importance of maintaining that credit score.
So you said something about I can't remember the terminology. Just before we were talking about that, it was almost like a getting a loan. I don't know if that's what you meant you didn't use that terminology, but what were you talking about? Do you remember?
Self-lender? Is that what you're talking about? Self-lender? Yeah. So self-lender basically it's a trade line. So a trade line is something basically where where you have an item that's hitting your credit reports. So like your credit cards are trade lines. Your mortgage is a trade line. So self-lender is actually somebody can actually go to self-lender and basically you're taking out a loan, but you're paying yourself back. So what I did was I took out, I think it was like, it's not like you're taking out a loan, but it's that what they're doing is like her loan, I think was like $583. And so I'm paying $48 and next year she'll get the whole 583 back. But what's happening right now is we're paying, it's like they loan it to us and we're paying it back on a monthly basis. So it's hitting her credit report.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that
So
is.
it's not a loan that we're actually getting the money, but we're paying for it on a monthly basis. So it's for the purposes of hitting her credit.
Mhm. Okay, and then my next question is, what should one look for on their credit report?
So you want to look for inaccurate items. You want to make sure that everything that's actually on your credit report is yours. Okay, is yours. And even if it is yours, that does not mean that it cannot come off. But that's the first thing. You want to make sure that it's yours. You want to make sure that the information is accurate. You want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly. You want to make sure that the amounts that are attached to the items, that the amounts are correctly, because remember the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that if anything is erroneous, obsolete, if it's inaccurate, if it cannot be verified in a timely manner, it has to be deleted. So one, you want to make sure that the items are in fact your items.
Mm. And what impacts one's credit score the most?
So the biggest impact, your credit score is actually calculated in 5 different areas. The largest area is payment history. Payment history accounts for 35% of your credit score. Yeah, right. That's a lot, 35%. And a lot of people will say, well, why is my credit score like this? I make my payments on time. I do that. Payments you can literally have a 700 credit score. And if you make one late payment can literally drop your score 110 points. So can you imagine, Nora, having a 700 and you just forgot. You just forgot.
Mm-hmm.
And you made one late payment. And now your 700 is a 590. That's detrimental.
Wow.
You just went from the 700s to the 500. So the biggest factor is late is on time payments, your payment history, making sure. And I tell people, don't wait until the due date to make a payment, because you're always going to run into something. Well, do I pay this bill, or do I buy this computer that my child needs for virtual learning? Do I pay this bill, or do I fix my car? Something is always going to come up. So go ahead and allot a few weeks before the payment date so that you'll already know, you know what, that is taken care of. So whatever comes up is fine. At least I know my bills are taken care of and they're paid before time, not on time, before time.
And Marionne, how long does negative information stay on your credit report?
So so remember, again, it just stays. It just stays. So again, most people have heard so many times, and it has become some people's truth, that things are going to magically fall off after 7 years. Things are going to magically fall off after 10 years. Things are going to magically fall off after they pay off a collection. It doesn't work like that. So there's really no time frame. There is a statute, but again, if the client, if we as consumers, if we're not going to the credit bureaus, if we're not having somebody to help us, the items will just stay there. Like it's very unfair for creditors and the credit bureaus to put these items on there. But the reality, Nora, is it's not their responsibility to get it off. So it'll just linger, and the longer the item stays on there, that's how the credit bureaus make their money. So they're not going to say, hey, Nora, it's been 15 years since you had that repossession, let's just take it off. No, it doesn't work like that.
So in this question, I want to give you an opportunity to really kind of talk about your company and what you do personally to help people. But the question is, how do you dispute the information on your credit report? So with that question, along with what you do as a consultant or business owner, tell us about your company and how they help people dispute the information that's on their credit report.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I partner with a company known as United Credit Education Services, and what we do is we legally dispute all of anyone's negative item. So it doesn't matter that it's your item. It doesn't matter that it's a legitimate item. Again, the Fair Credit Reporting Act is the federal law that allows us to dispute those items. Now, because we are a nonprofit organization, we're able to dispute everything at one time. So that means the lady that I had, she had 161 negative items. That's a lot, right? Life hit her. 161 negative items. Her first round, right? You're like, that's a lot, right? Yeah, but life hits everybody differently. So her first round, we were able to get off 42 items. Why? Because when she saw her first set of letters, all of those 161 items were there. Now, imagine if she was with a company or an individual that said, "Hey, Nora, what 2 items do you want us to dispute this round?" She would have been with them forever. So my clients, they actually, once we pull their credit, everything that's negatively impacting their score is going to be on their first round of letters. Doesn't mean that it's all going to come off that first round. So the credit bureau's job is to discourage individuals from continuing to dispute, because again, that's how they make their money. So what we do is we dispute all of those negative items: student loans, bankruptcies, child, anything negative at one time to all 3 credit bureaus. And so most of my clients start seeing results usually around 45 to 90 days, if they are not doing something to counteract the process, in terms of their scores going up. Because as we're getting items off, clients can still be over there maxing out a credit card, be making late payments. So I educate my clients and say, look, while we're in this process, we want to change your mindset. Okay, so we don't want to come back and revert to where we started from. So that's what we do. We dispute all of those negative items and are helping people to clean up their credit report, get their credit score up so they can get in a house, start their business, or do whatever it is they want to do.
Well, Marionne, I want to thank you for being our guest today on Real Conversations with Nora. Are there any last minute comments that you would like to share with our audience, and also how they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you didn't hear anything from this conversation, the one thing I want you to take away from this, you all, is after looking at this and listening to this information, there is no reason for anybody to walk around with bad credit. No reason. Nora has had me on here. I've explained to you how we do it. They say once you know better, you can do better. So I'll give my information, but there's no reason to feel ashamed. Guess what? Again, life happens to everybody. It's not a matter of if you need credit repair. It's really a matter of when will you need it. So if you are in need, if you do know somebody, if you have some things on there, please contact me. My number is 678-778-2930, and I will repeat it. It's 678-778-2930. And for anybody that makes mention of this video right here, this information, I have something financially in store, a sweet blessing in store for you. Don't be ashamed to have, to have that conversation with me. I help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So I guess it's like thousands of people, on a yearly basis. So I would love to help you. There is no need to walk around with bad credit. And thank you again so much, Nora, for allowing me to share this information today.
Okay, audience, you heard her. She has a special blessing. That sounds like a gift to me. So you definitely want to contact her about your credit, especially if you have issues with your credit or you just want to know some information. Definitely, I want you to reach out to her. So once again, I want to thank you, Marionne, for your insight that you shared on our topic today. It was so powerful. And to my Real Conversation with Nora audience, follow me on social media and Instagram at BWOT MFG and Facebook at Business Women on the Move for God. Visit my website at BWOTMFG.com and sign up for my weekly inspirational quotes. I promise you, you'll be blessed. I want you to join us this year at our conference. The speakers are going to be amazing, and the dates are September the 12th through the 13th. It will be virtual this year because of the pandemic. And again, you can register at BWOTMFG.com. And our theme this year, it is your time to shine. And how appropriate, even with your credit, it is your time to shine. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Real Conversations with Nora. Have a blessed and awesome week. God bless you.